Our first lesson is taken from the book of Genesis, a portion of chapter 32. Then Jacob went upon his way, and the angels of God ran to him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp." And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And then later on, Jacob was left alone. And a man wrestled with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his thigh. And the socket of Jacob's thigh went out of joint as he wrestled with him. And then he said, "Let me go, for the day breaks." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." And he said, "Tell me your name." He said, "Jacob." The angel, or the man of God, said, "Your name shall no more be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men and have prevailed." And then Jacob asked, saying, "Tell me your name, I pray." He said, "Why is it that you ask about my name?" He blessed him there. So Jacob called the name of that place Peniel, for I have seen the face of God come to him face to face, and my life is preserved. Amen. Anybody ever wrestle? Yeah, wrestled? Think, Kiara, have you ever wrestled? Tussled with anybody? How about you? You ever wrestled, Rosalie? You ever wrestled? Luke, you wrestled? How about anybody in the back row over there? See a couple kids back there. Yeah, Michael Hazen says he's wrestled. Yeah, so you met, oh yeah, David wrestled, okay. So we've got a couple wrestlers there. It might not have been your favorite sport, but I wrestled when I was in high school too. Now, the kind of wrestling that you might see today on television, sometimes professional wrestling isn't exactly, it's kind of set up to be really dramatic. There's Olympic wrestling, I would think, I'd have you think about. It's people that have been trained in all kinds of different moves, the way they can put their hand here or there or push their weight and actually get somebody else on their back and pin them. And then 1, 2, 3, wrestling match is over. Whoever pins the first person, pins the next guy, that pinner, the guy that pins the other guy, wins. And if there's no pinning, then it's just who did the best moves. Who had the best moves? Who could get somebody down on one knee or get somebody to get behind them or different things. I don't need to explain all of wrestling to you. But this story is about wrestling. Who was wrestling? Does anybody know who it was that was wrestling? Yes? Jacob. Who else was wrestling? Yes? The man of God. And it turns out the man of God was an angel of the Lord that Jacob was wrestling with. And he wrestled with him, what, for a little while, do you think? Gideon, do you think it was a little while or a long time? Say long time. Yeah, long time. It said he wrestled with him all night long until the breaking of the day. They didn't have daylight savings time then. We don't know what time it was. But it began to dawn and get light. Do you think you'd be tired after wrestling that long? Yeah, you'd be very tired. Wrestling matches may go 3, 5, maybe a little bit longer, but pretty much by about 5 minutes, you're exhausted. You're exhausted. And Jacob wrestled with the angel all night long. And he prevailed. He was winning. He kept winning and kept winning and kept winning. And finally the angel said, "What is your name?" He said, "My name's Jacob." But he did something, I'm not sure. He mysteriously kind of bruised him or injured him on the hip somehow, and it kind of left Jacob a little bit limping. Said that they limped from that time on. That he had a limp. I don't know if that was cheating or not, because the Lord wouldn't cheat. But he gave Jacob something to remember him by, not only with the way he pushed or touched his hip, but also by changing his name. What was his name changed to? Yes? Israel. Because you have wrestled with God and with man and prevailed. Do you think you're ever going to go through life wrestling with anybody? Who's struggling or wrestling with something right now? Yeah, maybe not physically, maybe not with somebody else's body, but sometimes our minds will wrestle with somebody else's mind. Sometimes the way we're thinking about things going on in the community or in the country or in the world, we struggle with these things. We wrestle in our mind. And you know what? Is that ever going to go away? I don't know. Ask somebody who's a little bit older. Are you still struggling with things, older folks? Yeah, we struggle with things. We struggle with things. Not necessarily with the Lord, but with ourselves trying to follow the Lord. And that's one of the really nice things about this story. It tells us that we can struggle with our things and the Lord will be with us and give us victory. Change our names. Give us a new name because we are struggling and we're overcoming. And that's what we have to keep remembering. The Lord will be with us. Challenging in ways, but also allowing us to win. Allowing us to have a victory that leads to heaven. Amen. Let us pray.